When you want to play Minecraft longer than a 2 weeks phase, you have to create a world with intention and purpose. All of the farms in my world is seamlessly integrated into my city. Take this electrical power plant. Not only will this building power my whole city, but it will also act as an automatic copper oxidation chamber. This farm right here not only acts as an entrance to my forest, but it also provides food for the people inside of the city. The Japanese building right here, it houses my clay farm, and right next to that we have a Buddha statue, and inside of that statue we have a creeper farm. You get the idea. In order for you to keep going and have the motivation to keep expanding your builds, you have to tell a story and create meanings behind your creation. And in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to do just that. Hey, welcome back guys to my channel. My name is Dai. If you're new here, I do weekly videos of me building in my forever world, and I build crazy projects in my world. I try to give you guys tricks and tips every video, so sit back and enjoy today's episode. So before we start with the building of today's episode, I noticed that my villagers are not really working. They always just stand here for some reason. They're always together looking at each other's faces all the time. I was so confused, and then I checked the chest down here, which stores all of the wheat, and they have not produced anything new for me. And then I realized that I don't have a composter in there, and they need to have a composter to work. So before we do anything else in the episode, I think we need to put a composter down there. And for the longest time, I struggled with how to make this composter look good, because it is like a giant wheat field, right? And a composter is gonna stick out like a sore thumb. So I kind of figured out how to do this in a more natural way. So let me show you guys what I mean. So right here in my inventory, I have these leather armor and a pumpkin head. So this will be a scarecrow that's going to be hiding the composter. So let's just place that real quick. Okay, so it needs to be somewhere closer to the side, because again, the hoppers are going to be under here. And then it's going to funnel all the way inside of the chest. So it would only make sense if we have it somewhere here, so that the villagers would only work in this specific area. So let me break this and then break this block. We can place the composter down, put some fences up like so. And then we put the armor stand right here. Okay, let's make sure we sleep first, because I don't want to have like zombies spawning in this area, because I have not lit up the area properly. So let's just sleep real quick. Okay, that's perfect. Go back in here. Now we can place the armor on the armor stand. Perfect. Now we just have to position it all the way there. Turn off gravity. And maybe you can find a pose that fits a scarecrow pose. That way we don't have to do too much work. I think this joyous one is perfect for that. That way we have this open armor here. And then now we just have to put the legs together. So put this as 0. And then I think it looks much better if he's looking a bit downwards, like so. And then we can tuck the legs inwards a bit. Now we just have to push it all the way back to the fence. Oh, you can see him working already. That's perfect. Okay, now I just gotta make it look like it's attached to the fence. Putting it a bit more backwards. Okay, that should be perfect right there. There we go. So now that we have that out of the way, we can move on to today's project. And we're back on where we ended last episode. Is this dock right here? This is probably my favorite spot in the city. Looking at how developed this whole area is, just don't look at this part, okay? Looking at this area right here, that looks amazing. I'm gonna build like that for the whole city. So that's what we're gonna do exactly today, is to build out this whole section of area. Since this is a town, I wanna make sure that this whole area is filled with life and lots of buildings. And since we are doing a Japanese theme base, I want to make sure that we have a Japanese row stores at the front right here, because it is a more busy and commercialized area. And then we'll have the housing maybe at the back right there or somewhere over there. But yeah, I'll show you guys my plans a bit more later. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to clear out all of this dirt in this area right here. That way we can have a spot for the build. So let me just do that real quick. How did they even spawn in the water? I'm so confused right now, but at least this way they can't really bother me building. Yeah, you guys just stay right there. But yeah, anyways, I cleared out this whole area right here. And also I just updated my game to 1.20.10, I believe, or 11. I don't know, there's too many updates. I can't keep track of them. But yeah, ever since I updated the game, everything's been a bit laggy for me, like frame-wise. I'm not sure why, but to be fair, I also added lots of new mods. But yeah, hopefully it's not too noticeable. I'll try and fix it up for the next video. But anyways, this is gonna be a good enough space for us to build the house. I try not to make the houses too big, so roughly each house is gonna be like 9 blocks long, and then another house is gonna start right next to it, and then that's just gonna keep on going for a bit. And I want to make sure that there's enough room for a walkway and, you know, everything doesn't feel cramped. That's like the main thing that I want to do, is like space things out, you know, that way everything looks more cohesive instead of like, you know, this build is like competing against this build for like the spotlight basically in the whole area. And yeah, the whole point is to make the whole area feel a bit more cohesive with this build style that I have made in the past few videos. But these houses will all have a purpose in them. And again, in order for us to be able to, you know, sustain the world and have more meaning in the world, we have to give every build a purpose and a story behind the build. So once we built these out, I'll explain more about the story behind each of these houses that I'm going to be making. A lot of you guys wanted me to explain my builds better and to explain my thought process and the build choices. So in this video, I'm going to try and do that so you guys are able to learn how I build. So these are all the blocks that we're going to be using for each of the builds that we're going to be doing today. It's some more earthy and I guess subtle colors. Because if you look at older Japanese houses, which is the aesthetic I'm going to go for the whole town basically, they all have this earthy and more muted colors, right? Because I guess it wasn't so accessible to have like different colors back then. So a lot of the builds is going to be using these colors right here, and these two blocks right here is going to be the roofing tiles. And one way for me to keep all of the builds consistent is to have a consistent roofing color. So we have this black roofing right here, and then we have it also in this farm right here, and also in this iron farm that I have right here. So that is one easy way for me to try and keep everything consistent in my town. And in between these blocks that I use, there will be a tertiary color that is unique to each and every build that I do. So one building is going to have like red undertones, and then maybe another one like a yellow undertone, and then one more that's like white undertone. So I'm just trying to mix the block palettes a bit. That way it's not too boring and, you know, repetitive. It might look good to have like a uniform town in like real life, you know, it might look cohesive, but in Minecraft I feel like I try to make it a bit more different. At least that's just how I try to approach things. I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it, but yeah, that's the thought process that I have with these colors. So let's just start building. Okay, I was about to showcase my build real quick, but we have these brats right here. So I think this is a good opportunity to trap them. So let me just make some boats real quick at my base. Let's make like 4 maybe. That should be perfect. Okay, now we want to like have them separated a bit. So let me make them a bit far from each other here. That should be good. Maybe this one could be right here. Perfect. Okay, now we just gotta separate these two. So let me just break this boat. Oh shoot. Maybe I should be wearing my armor real quick. Okay. Come on. Come here. Why are they not following me? Okay, now I can't run. Okay, let me just grab some food too. Okay, perfect. We got some food. Let's head back. Let's see. Where are these hooligans? No way they despawn. No. No. What? They're gone. Okay, that's weird. Well, there goes my plan. Let's just collect these boats and maybe we could use them for next time. But the idea is that we can trap them and eventually they'll break their crossbow and then we could use them as a prop like inside of our stores, which is perfect because it'll bring a lot of life to the area. But right now I just want to show you guys the build that we have right here at the back. Alright, so this is what we have so far. Everything's looking great. I want to show you guys the view from that direction, but this bugger is right here. So let's just stand here. So if you look at it right here, just ignore this big hole on the right side and everything is starting to look cohesive and really nice, you know. Now it looks like a Japanese village, whereas before it just wasn't nice and cohesive. It just felt like I was confused with how I want to lay out the town. Not saying that I'm not confused right now. There's definitely a lot of things that I need to plan out, which I'll discuss in a bit. But these builds right here is the start of how I want to lay out the whole area here in the dock. And maybe also the back right there, because those old builds need to go as well if we want to make it look more cohesive and pretty. And like I mentioned before, each build has a different purpose and intention to it. So this one right here, it's supposed to be a restaurant. And this one right here says Hon Mise, which means bookstore. Mise means store, Hon means book in Japanese. It's really hard to write Japanese text in these signs. So this one right here is supposed to be a kanji. And kanji is derived from Mandarin. And Mandarins have really complicated letterings. So it's really hard for me to try and replicate it in a small text like this. But I think I did a pretty good job. And for this two right here, those are hiragana. And hiragana is pretty simple to write. So this is supposed to be mi, and this is supposed to be se. So hon mise. And yeah, I try to make these tiny details as much as possible in my builds. And as you can see in all of these 3 different houses, I add these tiny little details that makes it more realistic and grounded. Like those shutters at the top right there with the gold block. These are basically like the shutter handles. You can see it right here as well. Basically, I try to replicate a realistic look to it. This one right here, I did try to use the banners to write something in hiragana, but it just didn't look right. So I just ended up making a logo for the restaurant. And lastly, we have this build right here. This one is a bit more complicated and long to write down. This is written in katakana. So just for you guys to know, Japanese has 3 different types of letters. There's katakana, there's kanji, and there's hiragana. And this right here is katakana. Katakana is like normally used for words that are borrowed from different languages. And this right here means recycuru, which basically means recycle. And so this is basically my version of a thrift shop where people can sell like random goods into the store. And I made this specifically for the villager that trades random things. That way I think that would make sense to have them in here. So this is the story behind this build. And at the front of the pier, we have these benches and also a recycling bin right here. So these benches, I'm not sure if I'm gonna put it here. And what's really annoying actually about making benches in Minecraft is either it's a block too high or it's gonna be like super low on the ground like this, which doesn't make sense also for a bench. So there's no real good way to make benches in Minecraft that, you know, looks good and also in the same scale as your player, right? So this is the best thing that I could come up with is this bench right here. And I don't know if I want to keep it here, but this is just an example of what we could do throughout the whole city. Maybe in like an emptier space. But this area right here with this benches in front and this houses right here, I feel like it's a bit too crowded. So maybe somewhere around there could work better where it's less crowded. And we also have these recycling bins. And this is a cauldron. And right under the cauldron, I don't know if you could see it, but there's a hopper down there. So let me just break this right here. And what's interesting is cauldron apparently can transfer block right under it. So if I put the trash right here, voila, it's right in the hopper. So I want to have an actual recycling bin that actually functions, and eventually it'll be connected to the sewer system that we have down here, right in the dock area. They're gonna be put all over the town basically. But yeah, this is our recycling bin right here, and I also have a different variation of it since it is a restaurant right here. I know that in Western towns, they usually have this giant recycling bins that the trucks usually pick up. So this is what I'm trying to mimic with this. Yeah, I purposely like have it open so it kind of looks like those big bins for trashes that restaurant usually have, and I think it gives the right vibe. So like I mentioned before, everything needs to have an intention in my world. So if you head in here, it's empty right now. Same goes for this one right here. Everything is all empty and echoey, and the restaurant is pretty much the same. But today we're gonna be building out this interior right here for the restaurant. Right now it's empty, but this has a great potential to be like a Benihana type of restaurant in here. So we're gonna make it functional by putting our villagers in there so you can trade with them for food, and it also serves a purpose for a town, right? Since it is a restaurant, people can come here and grab some food, and that's the whole idea of it. So let's just start building out the interior. While I built this interior right here, I want to take the time to reflect on my 8 months here being a Minecraft YouTuber. Although I've only started posting consistently 4 months ago, I've posted my first video and a couple of shorts as early as March of this year. I've been having a lot of fun, definitely, sharing my passion with you guys, creating a narrative with all of these videos, making cinematic shots, editing my videos, coming up with new and creative ideas. All of that is really fun, especially when you're able to find your audience, right? You have a sense of purpose that you're creating it for someone. But boy, does no one really talk about how hard it is to maintain that. To be able to come up with a great idea week after week, maneuvering the algorithm, making sure your videos do well. You gotta think about the thumbnail and which thumbnail works best for your type of videos. Basically, if you wanna be a successful YouTuber, you have to master all of these different things. Not only you have to make a great video, right? Which basically means you need to be making not only a good build, but find a way to make people care about the build you're making, structure the video properly, make sure the pacing flows well, but then you still have to edit it. Find the clips that are interesting while making sure that you don't bore the audience. And then you gotta go back to your replay mods, find some cool cinematics, and then you gotta put them all together. 20 to 30 minutes video. Then you have to come up with a title, right? Okay, so you don't wanna make it clickbaity, but it also is your job to get people clicking on your videos. So you gotta make sure that the video delivers on what you're promising in the title. But then you don't wanna make it obnoxious and vague, so you gotta find the perfect balance to write a catchy title that resonates with people without being too obnoxious, while also trying not to be too clickbaity. And you gotta make the thumbnail interesting. Like, should I be artsy and just have a screenshot of my build, or should I add text and give people more context about what's happening in the video? And you gotta figure out what angle of the build works well for the thumbnail, and many more things just that you probably wouldn't think about watching these videos. And once you post your videos, you're anxious about whether people would perceive the video well or not. And if you don't, what can you do to fix it? Can I still fix the issue once it's uploaded? Or, or just make a better video next time? So your brain keeps on thinking on going through details, and you've become obsessed with these tiny details, which is a good thing, right? But you basically don't have any real rest. And on top of that, you have to be entertaining and have a good personality. And you gotta repeat the process week after week. It's like a perfect storm that you gotta like capture in a bottle. And let me preface by saying that I love doing it. I love what I do. I'm super passionate about it, and I hope I can do this forever. But all I'm saying is that this aspect of content creating is not really talked about enough. People would always assume that it's fun, that you get to play games as your job. But in reality, I play the games like 30% of the time. And I spend most of my time editing, planning, coming up with new ideas, and a lot of other things that goes unseen behind the camera. So my 8 months on YouTube has been a roller coaster of emotions. And I get why not a lot of people are able to do this full time, because you have to go all in on it. You gotta lay all your cards and commit to it fully. And that is exactly what I'm willing to do. And I will make this YouTube thing work or die trying. But yeah, here's the interior done. Okay, before I show you guys the final product, we have to get the 2 villagers that we need for the restaurant. So let's just do that real quick. So I do have a villager breeder all the way in the older section of my base. This was the village that I worked on early on in my forever world, but I don't think I want to keep it anymore. But we do have this villager breeder inside here. I call it the daycare because it does make a lot of sense to have this building right here to be a daycare where kids would just like kind of plop down here. But yeah, we can hop in here and voila, we have these villagers. And I used to have like a rail car system where I would just like break these blocks right here and then set up some rails all the way to where I want to place them. Since you can use lead to pull the boat out, so let me just try and do that and break this minecart real quick. So just kind of trap them right here. So I'm so scared of hitting them. Okay, here we go. Get in the boat. No. Okay, okay. So now we just have to use this lead right here and hopefully we could get up the stairs. Okay, this is way more efficient than what I used to do back then. This is very painless now. Come on, get in here. Come on. We're so close. Come on. Maybe you could just like trap him inside. He should not be able to walk out of here, I think. Okay, now we just gotta break the boat. Alright. Alright, okay. Let me clean this up real quick. Okay, I'm a bit confused why he hasn't changed his job yet. But you get the idea. This is the restaurant right here. So let me just show you the outside real quick. So this is the outside of the restaurant. What I really love about this building is you can kind of see the interior all the way here. That just brings so much life to it. Yeah, look at that. That looks so good. Like you can kind of see that there's life going on in there. There's like someone taking care of the restaurant. So this tiny view right here, I really love that. So heading into the restaurant, we have this area right here. I don't know what it's called, the reception maybe. I know people usually like stand here and then just like ask you how many people are in your party and stuff like that. Oh, he changed his job. Okay, perfect. This is the exact job that I want my villager to have. The headband, the apron, it really fits the vibe that I'm trying to create here. So this is perfect. Once the villager breeding chamber has one more villager, I'll put him in here. But for now, this will do. So these are the chairs where you're supposed to sit down and eat in front of the chef. This is a pretty common layout for a restaurant in Japan. I think they're called teppanyaki. I'm not too sure, but that's what I'm trying to replicate here. But you also have these tables on the side where you can just kind of sit and look at the view from here. Again, this is why this window right here is so good. This kind of gives you a good sense of the area, but also once we develop that area right there and this right side right here and clean up the forest at the front, this is gonna be a killer view when you're chilling inside of the restaurant. And we also have this back door right here for the employees to throw out some trash. That way they don't, hinder with the customers. So these tiny details in lore kind of brings the build, together and make it comes alive. And then we also have this section right here where it goes up, but I just haven't quite figured out what I want to put up here. But we could definitely, add one more stair and then use some slabs for the floor. And then we could have like a nice room up here, but I'm just not sure what could be good here. So if you have any suggestions for this, let me know. But for now, we'll leave it at that. And as you can see in the middle, there's like a netherrack, and also I place fires. I'm trying to simulate like a grill in the middle. And these shelf up here are supposed to be like the vents. I really like this. Not only does it add lighting to the area, which is much needed, because we only have candles in the area right here. I don't know why I don't like lanterns too much, because they're a bit too bright for my liking, especially for interiors. I try to steer away from them as much as possible. But yeah, this adds a lot of light to the area. And at the back right there, you can see that is the staff quarter basically, since the villagers also need a place to sleep. That way when it's like nighttime, they can kind of like head back and you can kind of tell that the restaurant is closed. So there's also like world building to that element as well. And there's this one little neat trick that I've been using in my past builds, is that I always put honey on the ground and then cover it up with carpets. That way the villagers won't just like jump around and go to places that they shouldn't be going. It's been working like a charm, because if I don't have the honey, they would just kind of jump up here and escape. So honey is really like the way to go to keep villagers in place. That's probably the best tip that I have for you on this interior right here. So one more thing that we have to do before we wrap up this video right here is to fix up this area on the side of the Buddha statue, but also this new building. As you can see right here, the back side of these buildings is a bit in a weird spot right now. There's this pond that I used to have, but there's also like this weird hill going downwards. So we need to fix this up a bit so that way it blends better with the side of the dock, but also make everything look seamless and prepare for the next stage of the town on the next few videos that I'll be doing. So right up here, there's a sugarcane farm that I use quite frequently to make fireworks. It's a pretty simple farm. All of the sugarcanes would get into this chest, but the biggest problem that I have with this, it looks ugly, that's first. but also it doesn't make sense to have this farm in a town, right? So we're gonna be demolishing that and the pond right next to it. But most of the stuff right behind the house that we just built is gonna be destroyed and renewed because I think this area deserved a facelift. So let's start clearing up this pad right here and make a walkway to the upper levels of the town. Alright, here we have it. We have the stair all the way going up to the newer section of the town. So I did just a bit of a decoration on it. Try to simulate the same style that we have here on the dock with the lodestone and the railings. So we have the same thing here, but it might look a bit messy because it is curving a bit. You know, I want to try and follow the natural terrain as much as possible because in a real city, you know, it's not as smooth and straight all the time, right? You have these imperfections and I think it makes it a bit hard to look at certain angles. But I think if we look at it head on, you know, it makes sense that it is a stair, but maybe we need to like differentiate the blocks a bit more so that way the railing and the pad doesn't blend in too much. Which is why these buttons right here helps a lot to break out the railings and the stair. But maybe we need to like darken the stair or something, that way it looks a bit more separated. But right here at the top, we don't have that much thing going on. We still have the farm that we had before. This will all be gone eventually because, you know, it doesn't make sense to have a farm right in the heart of the city. So all of this will be gone, even the pond. I'm a bit sad that everything here is going to be going. It is one of the first things that I made in my forever world. This is what sustained me at the start of the game, like eating these wheat, eating these carrots. But for the sake of having a more cohesive town and better plan my forever world, and again, I'll be playing in this world forever, right? So I want to make sure that everything is up to my standards and, you know, I don't leave any stones unturned, especially while I'm still like pretty early on in the series. So like I mentioned before, everything here is going to be gone and we'll be placing houses on top of here, similar to what we have down there. So it's going to create like a stacking element to the city that's going to look super good as well from the dock. So this stair right here is pretty tricky, right? Not only does it curve, so it follows the terrain. This way I can smooth out the height differences from this level of the dock and also this level, but also make it flow really well all the way up there. And because I did that, there's like an awkward spot right here. This tiny green patch of land here. So I might plant a tree up here later on. But what's really cool about this space right here is, you know, again, I want to build with intention, right? Everything has to have a purpose in the town. So this tiny space right here, how can I make a purpose for it? So, okay, this part right here is going to be the trees. But this part right here, if I can get in here, I made a little gutter where the water would flow all the way down. So there's like a little hole and all the way inside of here. So I purposely made a small hole here where the water would connect all the way into the sewer. And remember, there's a sewer right down here. So everything has a purpose in my game. So with these tiny spaces right here, I try to think about, so okay, if there's like a rainfall going down, where does the water go, right? Especially if we have this tiny dirt patch right here, the water would be like stagnant here and would, you know, create a tiny flood in the area. So that way, logically, we would have like a gutter right here, funneling all the water down into the sewer to mitigate a risk of flooding. This is why it takes a long time for me to build nowadays, because I try to think about the details and how to make them realistic and make sense in the world that I'm trying to build, you know? Because at the end of the day, Minecraft is a game about make-believe, right? So all of the blocks that are given to us by Mojang is basically just a palette that we try to use to simulate what a city looks like or what a certain shape looks like, right? So this building right here, even though most of these blocks right here are not supposed to be used for a house, let's say these banners, these candles, they're not really what they're supposed to be used for, but it gives the illusion that it is a part of a building, if you get what I'm saying right here. So if I can't believe in the world that I'm building, you know, how can I convince others to like care about the world that I'm building? So these tiny details really matter to me, like a lot, and I hope I made you care about it as well. But that's all of the building that we're gonna be doing today for this episode. The only thing that we need to do left is to give our friend right here a friend. And I think it'll be a great tradition to name all of the villagers that I have in the town. So give me some suggestion for these 2 villagers that's gonna be tending to the restaurant. Okay, let's pick up the other villager right now. Hopefully that they've made another baby right here. Oh, okay, see. Oh, there's, holy moly, okay. I did not expect that. There we go, get in. Perfect, perfect. Going down the new stair that we just made and all the way to the front of the restaurant. Okay, now we just have to cover it up again like before so that they don't run away. This is probably the most tedious part of moving a villager, but at least it's not as bad as it used to be. Now we can just clean up a bit, break these barrier blocks that we have, and we're pretty much done here. The build here is complete. So we're probably going to be doing the interiors of these 2 buildings in the next video. So we're going to have a bookstore for some enchantments that we need. We're going to put them here. Not the mending though, because the mending I probably have a special plan for that. And then we're going to put a villager that trades random stuff in here as well. But before we end the episode right here, we have a tradition of reading the comment of the day. And this week's comment, we have a comment from Ryuga. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Ryuga1. Do you actually play Minecraft in these aspect ratios, or do you just crop the sides and pose for the look? And why don't you just play in 4:3 if that's the case? Well, I've had this comment quite a lot in the past, ever since I switched to this ratio right here. It's mainly because I'm playing on a laptop right now. I'm currently traveling a lot, so at the start I didn't have the luxury of having a better setup than what I have right now, but I'm still traveling right now, and I can technically change it back to 16:9, like by having a second monitor or something, but this has become a part of my channel, you know? I've never seen anyone complain about the aspect ratio, so I just kept it all this time. But if it is something that is bothering you guys, do let me know. I'd be willing to change it. But yeah, it's something that just stuck with me, and I feel like that's something that you guys enjoy as well. So that's just why I'm playing this way. The laptop that I have, which is a Razer Blade 16, I believe. I think it's one of the newest edition. It just has a weird aspect ratio, but yeah, I love this laptop though. It's super beefy, super strong, and it has allowed me to make these videos very well. And even though it's like a laptop, I can still see very far. I'm playing on 40 render distance right now. You can see the trees all the way right there at the back. That's the trees that I built for the video that I talk about growing up and being in my 20s. Which, speaking of that, I've had really great receptions for it. I want to thank you guys for that. That was something really personal. I did not expect you guys to enjoy that and to, you know, to be able to relate to me in such a human way. That is also partly why I want to do this in the first place, like making videos and, you know, just being honest with my audience, inspiring people. That's part of the joy of being a content creator, I think, is to find ideas that resonated with me and, you know, help inspire others as well. I hope you get inspired from this video. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you guys again for all of the support that you have given me. It has been incredible, and I hope you learned something from me. And I hope you always learn something from my videos, whether it's Minecraft related or just like life lessons in general. Thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.